Yeah, yeah. Whoa. Hold on.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Are we live? Three, two, one, and we're live. Hey, Fabulites, what's going on? Like, share, comment, subscribe. This is Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. Uh, the segment is Notes on the News, where we talk about headlines. Hi, welcome on the chat. Where we talk about headlines. I read to you headlines from my personal news feed, and we might talk about the headlines, subject matter at large, the article, if we've read the article, or whatever happens to come up between us. But it's not news, it's just my notes on the news. I think that's everything I need to say. Let us see what Habaragani. What's new and good with you? Habaragani, what's the word for today? So yesterday, I'm not live yet. You's live. Hey, Sonia sees. It's good to see you. Angela sees. Sonia sees. So yesterday we started talking about collective work, and yesterday we started talking about cooperative economics. So I want to continue that conversation on Ujamaa because thank you for the like, because this essay that I was reading is about 3 or 4 paragraphs. Is that an essay? But anyway, so I'm just going to jump to the next paragraph. Okay. So peace, Rod. So it's Ujamaa Cooperative Economics to build our own businesses, control the economies of our community, and share in all its work and wealth. To share in all its work and wealth. Thus, as President Julius Nyerere of Tanzania in his discussion of Ujamaa says, Ujamaa is based on the assumption of human equality, on the behalf that it is wrong for one person to dominate or exploit another, and on the knowledge that every individual hopes to live in a society. Hey, I see. Every individual hopes to live in a society as a free person, able to lead a decent life in conditions of peace with his or her neighbor. Hey, Stephanie. Every person, every individual hopes to live in a society as a free person, able to live a decent life in conditions of peace with her or his neighbor. Like simple stuff, right? It seemed kind of simple. But when you hear it, especially in the context of, oh, really? Okay, I don't know about Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. But that's good, because I'm kind of like, who is this that they're quoting? And when you think about it in the context of us here, these things that seem very basic to me on one hand, they don't seem very basic in this context. To live in a free person. So I feel like we're still struggling in many ways to be free, just to be people. To lead a decent life. I feel like we continue to struggle to lead a decent life here. A decent life meaning having food, health care, you don't have to worry about, bodily harm or whatever. In conditions of peace with our neighbors. Like you do your thing, we cool. Ujamaa Nyerere tells us is above all human-centered, concerned foremost with the well-being, happiness, and development of the human person. Concerned foremost, only decent life was Tulsa. Concerned foremost with the well-being, happiness, and development of the human person. And the assumption is that the conditions for such well-being, happiness, and development is best achieved in the context of shared social wealth. Ujamaa, shared social wealth. The way that us as individuals is going to thrive is when we're all thriving. Our wealth is social and is shared among us, and that benefits each and every one of us individually. Okay, so I'm enjoying these little essays because I think that it's I like it. It's so true. It's kind of a lot to absorb with everything that's going on. So, I guess as time goes and we loop through it, it'll like things will start settling in. Durham, North Carolina had a Black Wall Street also. There are Black Wall Streets all over the country. There were thriving Black communities with businesses owned by Black folks, where Black folks were thriving all over the country. We are each other's keeper. No joy like Black joy. That's right. Exactly. Okay, what up though, Buddha? This is where we move on to see if the Buddha had anything to say that resonate. If you hold yourself dear, then don't fetter yourself with evil, for happiness isn't easily gained by one who commits a wrongdoing. It's like if you love yourself, do the right thing. If you're doing the wrong things, you're not going to be happy. So just do the right thing. Love yourself. Do good things. Good things help you. All right, Buddha, we'll take that today. If you hold yourself dear, then don't fetter yourself with evil, for happiness isn't easily gained by one who commits a wrongdoing. All right, let's proceed. Hey, Bonafide 1970, thank you for the flower. Love your Black self. Love your Black self and act like you love your Black self. Behave in ways that are consistent with loving your Black self. Love your Black self in your actions. Love your Black self with your words. Love your Black self with your thoughts. Oh, Blackity Black Black self. I love you. All right. Let's proceed with the news feed. Feel free to drop in any exciting news in your community, for you personally, for your family, all of that other good stuff. Census Bureau. White Americans' population is shrinking, with deaths now outpacing births. I got a little list thing going on. With death now outpacing birth. So that's not necessarily news, is it? Maybe it's like something official. I don't know. But I guess it was trending that way. Maybe it's now officially, crossed some threshold. I don't know why that's news. That's coming off of Atlanta Black Star. Maybe the Census Bureau did some analysis. I saw a tweet today where Zero is talking about getting rid of the Census Bureau. Sharing your love with the devil ain't loving at all. The devil is a liar. That never changes. That's true. That's absolutely true. You are so right. Sharing your love with God is always the truth. The God always tells the truth. So the Buddha is essentially saying that righteousness is essentially a key to happiness. I think so. That's how I took it. And it's true, right? How you gonna win if you ain't right within? Who is that? Lauryn Hill? As the great Lauryn Hill said, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? Get right within. Do the right thing, as the great Spike Lee said. Do the right thing. All right. Italy migrant, Lauryn Hill, yep. Italy migrant row. Inhumane Malta refuses rescue ship. It seems like here recently, like within the last few weeks, it's just been conversation after conversation after conversation. I don't know why I'm putting on the windshield wipers. We need more righteous brothers and sisters. Yes, I agree. And I think that we need to be what we need. So I think we need to focus increasingly on our own righteousness and how we can elevate ourselves in our righteousness. Hey, Rowdy Chica. Thank you, Bonafide and Rowdy, for being moderators today. I think that the in leading by example and being a model, like these things, I think are really, really important. And I think, it's I'm joking, it's easy to say be righteous, do the right thing, but it takes work. It takes, consciousness. It takes attention. It takes focus. It takes energy. And so, we need to be what we need. Be the change you want to see. Is that what the expression is? Yeah. Okay. It seemed like we've been seeing a lot of this conversation about immigrants coming from Africa to Europe. It's starting to feel a certain way to me. SpaceX's we got all this blessed magic. Let's create something beautiful again for each other. This time, let no enemies in. Yeah. We're creating beautiful things for ourselves and for each other. Let us affirm that. Let us, seek those seeds and celebrate those seeds and, cultivate those seeds and plant seeds. SpaceX, I guess this is a private company that does space exploration or something. SpaceX's Falcon Heavy to launch military satellites by 2020. So I don't know if they've gotten some contract to do military satellites. Maybe they already had it. I'm not really clear what's going on. But this whole space conversation is back in the news hot and heavy again. Elon Musk. Oh, I've heard of Elon Musk. I'm trying to cut off the windshield wipers. That's it. Okay. Okay, Elon Musk. How you doing, everybody? Just got off work. Looking forward to this weekend. Fabulous. Be fabulous. Love you. Hey, Information Man Show. I'm glad you're off of work, and I'm looking forward to the weekend too. Evening, Info Man. Cinemia adds family plans to its latest bid to battle MoviePass. So it was like MoviePass was out of the news for a minute. Yesterday we saw something about them. Today we see they back in the news again. But this time it's like everybody coming for them, everybody coming after them. Hey Kendrick, how are you doing, sir? The undersea electric railway built and abandoned within 6 years. The undersea electric railway. So it was built and abandoned within 6 years. That's coming off of Engadget. I don't know anything about that. Whites always need new places to thrive in. Space has always been on the menu. Yeah, I guess they, they break out of their country, then they come over to this country. They in Africa, they going to the moon or wherever, Mars. Where they going? Study. This was a study that was done. If only they could get through the Van Allen belt. I'm good. How are you, Angela? I'm good. Thank you for asking. Police killings have harmed mental health in Black communities. So somebody did a study and they found that out. I guess that would be in News We Already Knew. In News We Already Knew study. Police killings are harmful for the mental health of folks in the Black community. Okay, so that's coming off the grill. If you want to read more about that, Elon Musk is an Afrikaner, as in from South Africa. Rapper Foxy Brown says her father can't get back into U.S. after Trump's immigration crackdown. What I think is interesting about the whole, good to see everybody in here. What I think is interesting about the whole immigration conversation, like especially like, I hear bits and pieces. I've been busy with other stuff. I haven't been in the news so much here recently, but I hear bits and pieces, I guess, of people kind of feeling like, or this is the impression that I get, that people kind of feel like, well, that immigration has nothing to do with Black folks. And I feel like a lot of people in our community are Black folks who might speak English. They're Black folks who might speak Spanish. They're Black folks who might speak all types of other languages. They're Black folks from the United States, Black folks from all over the world that I consider to be part of my community. And, so I just thought it was interesting to see Foxy Brown, she's some kind of rapper, but I couldn't quite put an image, but I feel like, yeah, all of that stuff affects us. Like, if they're attacking the brown folks, you better believe they attacking my Black behind. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when I think of my enemies, I certainly don't think of the brown folks. And then I was looking at a tweet today and somebody was kind of talking about solidarity and the fact that, like I remember hearing about Black immigrants that don't unite with us are not our friends. But I don't know if you can talk about it in like my first husband was Jamaican. His mother was very Pan-African. Their orientation was very Pan-African. Everywhere we went, we were always meeting Africans from all over the world who identify with Africans all over the world. Of course, there are ignorant people or people who, ignorant, like they just don't know, who, don't identify themselves with other people. Like, oh, you an African booty scratcher, or, oh, you a Mexican wetback. But there are, like I was just talking today, my mother was at a conference, meeting of Black folks in Mexico. When we go into Costa Rica, there's a whole Black coast there, Black folks. I mean, there are Black folks all over the world, and they don't all look like us African American. There are so many Black people everywhere and so many consciousness. And then there are some people who speak Spanish who have a consciousness of being like, I just don't like, I feel, and I feel like you can look like, especially like, you can see where there has been solidarity, where, at different times, Asian people and Vietnamese people were dealing with, Malcolm X. And, like people have a consciousness and people have been inspired by, the work that we've done and connect, like I feel like, I think that I feel personally like there's like this false narrative where I'm supposed to have an issue with like I feel like really quiet as this, the main issue that I have is with rich white men with property and power. Like the one, like I'm mad at like I feel like else doing the best that they can. They doing the best that they can to exploit and stomp on and keep us all separated and confused and fighting with each other. And I'm not really, I don't know. I just don't see the point of participating in that. I feel like it don't really add no value to me. And I also feel like what I stand for and what I stand up for is about me, not about you. So I feel like I stand up for righteousness and truth and justice. And I do have friends. I'm surrounded by friends and allies. And I always hope that I'm going to stand up for righteousness, truth, and justice and not be like, well, it's right if it applies to me. But if they're doing the wrong thing to me, then that's wrong. But if they're doing the wrong thing to somebody else, then, oh, well, I'm just going to shut up. Now, I'm not going to like be breaking my neck to fight for somebody else. Like I feel like I haven't been on any marches, but, like, because I feel like I personally, have not come. But I feel like if some shit is wrong, it's wrong. That's how I feel. It has nothing to do. Like if you're a butthole and somebody is treating you like boo boo, I still feel like, if I feel like what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Principles before personalities. The majority of Black people in the world are outside of Africa or in South America. Black people dropped off in El Salvador. 4% of us were brought to majority. Nobody feels that way about us. I don't think that that's true. I mean, that just hasn't been my experience. When I was in New York, I was like dealing with the New Yorican poets who were, identified as Puerto Rican, identified as Black at the same time, were involved, like were conscious, like I just haven't had that experience. Now, I don't know, I can't speak to your experience, but I guess I've been, around people who, like, I learned people of color and that whole thing from brown people, not from, like I feel like, and people working together, the career, like I just, so that's just me. I mean, so, oh no, I lost my thing. So that's just been my experience. Let me try to get my thing back, my news feed back. People of color is a way to get Black energy for non-Black causes. Yeah, I've heard people who have that analysis. I don't personally have that experience, ma'am. Where you check out Wake Up the Black Nation, Rashawn DeLay. Hey, Anthony, Black Education TV, Pastor Dowell. There's so many of us intelligents. We have no friends. I have friends, girl. I have friends. There are good people and evil people, Black, white. There are so many Black people everywhere. Love all Pan-Africans. Like, share, comment, subscribe. The elder is a trip. Who's the elder? Hit that notification bell. Okay. I hadn't gone that far, so it shouldn't take me that long. I don't know how I'd be popping it out. I just be so much going on. So rapper Foxy Brown, her father can't get back into the U.S. after Trump's immigration crackdown. And I bet you it's a bunch of Black folks who, have that issue. Who have that issue, even though, the media face of the issue is Brown. I think that, yeah. Okay. Metro North supervisor lands promotion despite offensive photos of him in blackface. Employees outraged. So I don't know. Oh, Metro North, maybe that's something in Atlanta. So supervisor gets those are pretty good programs. Okay, those are pretty good programs. So shout them out again. Metro North supervisor lands promotion. So we got some pictures of you in blackface and you up for a promotion. And instead of that being like, no, we're not going to promote you, bro. They like, yeah, promote them. And so the employees are outraged. And it's so shocking because we're in America. We shocked. The great elder John Henrik Clarke said, Africa has no friends. Well, I'm not going to argue with the great elder John Henrik Clark. Because I'm assuming that he has done much more, he has done much more analysis and research than I'll ever be able to do. I'm just going by, I generally am going to go by my personal experience and extrapolate, and also by, vision. So, okay. Rosewood victims versus the state of Florida. Were the reparations inadequate? I don't even have to click the article to have an answer. Do you have a theory? Do you think the reparations were adequate? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm just wondering, what were they adequate? What's your guess? It's so hard to figure things out. Right? Nope. Is it America? Is rice white? No, it's not. It's brown, actually. On January 1, 1923, a massacre was carried out in the small, predominantly black town of Rosewood in central Florida. The massacre was instigated by a rumor that a white woman had been sexually assaulted by a black man in her home in the nearby community. A group of white men, believing this racist to be recently escaped convict named Jesse Hunter, who was hiding in Rosewood, assembled to capture this man. Prior to this event, a series of incidents had stirred racial tensions within Rosewood. Now, that's the part, when I hear that thing like, oh, they thought somebody was raped and so blah, I never believe that. Like, I feel like every time I look at one of these stories or one of these situations, underneath the surface is somebody was trying to get somebody's property. That's how I feel. For the most part, it seemed like it's an economic thing, and there's this propaganda that's laid on top of it that somebody was trying to get some white woman's cookies. It just seems like almost every time it just seems like almost every time. So I don't like when we write these stories and we say, oh, this woman was raped, or they thought she was raped and they thought the potential rapist was there. I feel like that's some bull. The real issue is the racial tensions. What were the racial tensions? And probably the racial tensions is that some white folks saw some black folks thriving and had some jealousy and some hateration and feel like, oh, we mad. And so then they start attacking and doing what they do. During the previous winter of 22, a white school teacher from Perry had been murdered on New Year's Eve. There was a Ku Klux Klan rally in Gainesville, located not too far from Rosewood. In response, white men began to search for blah blah blah. Somebody suspected her cousin of harboring the future. A group of 20 to 30 white men approached the home and shot the family dog. When the mother came to confront the mob, they shot and killed her. Sylvester's mother, Sarah, 45 days in prison. I had heard that she was going to be convicted or, was going to get in trouble, but I hadn't heard what the story was. I wonder what the repercussions will be for him. I don't know if you remember, we're talking about a young white girl who falsely accused somebody, a black young man, of raping her, and she got 45 days in jail. But I don't know if you remember last summer, maybe there's this reality show like where they were dating on a beach or something, and this white woman said that this black man had tried to, no, she didn't say it, one of the producers said that the black man got out of control with the white woman. They had it on camera. It ended up not being the case, but I was always kind of curious about what his experience was like, how that impacted him. When people accuse you of something, sometimes it's kind of hard to unring the bell. So I always wonder, so 45 days in jail, I wonder what impact it's had on him. And if he feels like, okay, that's fair, that's reasonable. Or if he feels like 45 days in jail, I've been suffering with this for 7 years or 2 years, or I've been dealing with it. I don't know. I guess she's just going to county jail, not prison. George Steiny was only 14. Who is George Steiny? That's who the girl accused of rape? The Bachelorette. I remember hearing about that. Right. It was people who had been kicked off The Bachelor. It was something related to them. But I kind of, and then I just kind of, I wondered, and it was like a weird thing. Like the woman was engaged to somebody and she was drinking, and then the producer was her friend. It was weird. Like when I was paying attention to it, I don't know what Bella is doing. The remaining survivors fled for the swamps. No, he was sent to the electric chair during Jim Crow. Oh, George Steiny was only 14. Oh, shit. I mean, it's, how many of us they've killed? 14. Electric chair, I got it. 14, 13, 2, 0, 29, 92. put to death was exonerated of charges. George Steiny. Uh, what charge? I might be missing something. So the next day, a mob burned the Carrier home before joining a group of 200 men from surrounding towns who heard erroneously that a black man had killed two white men. As night descended, the mob attacked the town, slaughtering animals and burning buildings. An official report claimed 6 blacks killed along with 2 whites. So I guess 6 black folks were killed along with 2 whites. Other accounts suggest a longer total. At the end of the carnage, only 2 buildings remained standing. A house and a general store. Many of the black residents in Rosewood who fled to the swamps were evacuated January 6th. So they left their property and stuff behind by a local train conductor. Many were hidden by John Wright, the owner of the general store. They fled to other cities and stuff. As a consequence of the massacre, Rosewood became deserted. There was a report presented less than a month after the massacre suggested there was insufficient evidence for prosecution. Thus, no one was charged in the Rosewood murders. In 1994, however, as a result of new evidence and renewed interest in the event, the Florida legislature passed the Rosewood bill, which entitled 9 survivors to $150,000 each in compensation. Originally, the compensation total offered to the survivors was $7 million, which aroused controversy. The legislature eventually settled on $1.5 million. This would enable payment of $150,000 to each person who could prove he or she lived in Rosewood during 1923 and provide $500,000 for people who could apply for funds after demonstrating that they had an ancestor who owned property in Rosewood during the same time. So like in an emergency crisis situation, when you have to evacuate to the swamps and then somebody has to come and put you on a train so that you're not getting killed, yeah, you got your deed and all of your documentation right to apply for funds and show, years later that, more than 400 applications were received for around the world. 4 survivors who testified automatically qualified. Robbie Morton came forward as a survivor during the time. She was the only one added to the list who could prove she lived in Rosewood in 1923. Gaining compensation changed some families whose members began to fight among themselves. Some descendants refused it, while others went into hiding to avoid the press of friends and relatives who came asking for handouts. This is written kind of weird. Some descendants, after dividing the funds among siblings, received not much more than $100 each. So I guess before we read the article, we knew the answer was no. It's so chaotic. Every black family member should have received at least $150,000 since slavery. Exactly. Apply for funds. Yeah. Jackson family members allegedly banned from visiting dying patriarch Joe Jackson in the hospital. I didn't know Joe Jackson was in the hospital. So, prayers out for Joe Jackson. He was the father he is the father of Michael Jackson, who is a musical genius and, has all those musically inclined children and, those white grandchildren, among others. So yeah, I didn't know that he was in the hospital, and I don't know what's going on with them, why they being banned from visiting, if that's true. It says allegedly, but just prayers out to the family and peace to all of us. You can keep your welfare and give us our reparations. Boris Becker insists CAR diplomatic passport is genuine. So Central African Republic, he's saying he got a diplomatic passport. The government is saying we ain't give you no in the meantime, Israel gets something like $4 billion a year from the U.S., a country that came to their rescue during World War II. Boris Becker, I don't know who he is. He's some white person, and he's saying that he has a diplomatic passport from CAR, Central African Republic, and Central African Republic is like, that ain't no legitimate passport. I don't know where you got it from. He like, oh, it's legitimate. I got it from y'all. I don't really know. I don't know. Ethiopia's Ginbot 7 opposition movement suspends armed resistance. Look at how many government personnel have dual citizenship with Israel. Oh, he's a former tennis champion. I don't know why I pulled that story. I don't care nothing about him. Genbot 7, I don't know who that is. Opposition movement. Israel is an evil empire. Suspends armed resistance. So Ethiopia has somebody who was a group that was doing armed resistance, but they're suspending it. The Genbot 7, Jimbo, Genbot, Genbot 7. The Genbot 7, I don't know anything about it. Chinese park grants free entry to heavier women. Oh, that was an interesting. I just read one paragraph of it. It's not Eritrea, it's Ethiopia. Eritrea. Ethiopia. Oh, maybe they're from Eritrea. Oh. Genbot 7 leader Andargachu Sege was recently pardoned and freed from prison. Protect them. Oh, yep. The reforms had given hope that genuine democracy may be a real possibility. Earlier, the government said that it had unblocked 264 websites and TV channels. This is the latest of numerous changes made since Mr. Abiy came into office in April. Waist deep in the federal government. Well, I shouldn't say I'm not surprised. I believe Boris Becker used to be a well-known tennis player back in the day. I think he's German or something. Yeah, when I clicked the article, it did say he was a tennis player. Relaxing the state's previously tight grip on power. Genbot 7, which is based in neighboring Eritrea, whoever said that, Sonia sees, had been designated a terrorist organization by previous governments. Its Secretary General was seized in Yemen in 2014, then sent to Ethiopia, where he had been sentenced to death in absentia in 2009 for allegedly plotting a coup. The Ethiopian government pardoned Mr. Tsenge on May 29, and he has since returned to the UK, where his family lives. Mr. Tsenge recently told the BBC that his release came after Prime Minister Abiy had threatened to resign. In recent years, Ethiopia has been, Max Evans, has been riven by protests. I wonder what riven means. Is that a typo? By protests by members of the country's two largest ethnic groups, the Oromo and the Amhara. Oh, I've heard of the language Amharic, but I didn't realize there was a group of people called the Amhara. I did a Google Translate of something in Amharic the other day, just because I'm curious about Ethiopia. Demonstrations first spread across the country in 2015 amid calls for political and economic reform, and also an end to state corruption. End the corruption. The government was accused of human rights violations in that time, including torture and extrajudicial killing of political dissidents. Genbot 7 decision to end a 10-year armed resistance is an achievement. Founded in 2005, Genbot 7. Oh, Genbot May 7. Maybe Genbot is a word for May. Was founded in 2005 and named after the date of that year's elections, which were marred by protests over the alleged fraud that led to the deaths of about 200 people. The group argued that peaceful struggle was not working. Is not working. Peaceful struggle is not working. It is said it was not fighting to seize power, but wanted to help usher in a democratic system that respects the rights of the citizen. The movement said that its goal was the realization of a national political system in which government power and political authority is assumed through peaceful and democratic processes based on free will and the choice of citizens in the country. The Ethiopian parliament outlawed the movement as a terrorist organization. Okay. Free market of ideas. Many journalists were given prison sentences for stories they had written, while others fled the country. All right. So it's interesting to kind of try to get informed as stuff unfolds in that region of the world. And we're rooting for Ethiopia. I'm rooting for Ethiopia and Eritrea. And I'm trying to make peace that they're two different countries. Because I'm making peace. If they want to be separate, they can be separate. It's all right with me. If they like it, I love it. If they like it, I love it. Okay, so look, the Chinese park grants free entry to heavier women. Usually, heavier people, at least in this country, are discriminated against, but this park is granting free entry to heavier women. Do you know why they're granting free entry to heavier women? A theme park in northern China offered free entry tickets this week to if they weighed over 9.5 stone. That whole stone thing is very confusing to me, which is 61.8 kilograms, which is still very confusing to me. According to the China Daily newspaper, the Tang Paradise Park in the north city of Xi'an granted hundreds of women free entry if they were heavier than a Tang Dynasty imperial concubine. So I guess the concubines used to have to be like bigger and heavier and thicker. 1 stone is 14 pounds. 1 stone is 14 pounds. So 9 is like 90 pounds plus 50 pounds, so 140 pounds. Fluffy concubines. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I like to hear about some variety. Why everything always got to be the same? Why everybody got to like the same thing? Can't people like something different? You know? So I'm here for it. I just am. All right, so that's it with that story. Orlando International Airport. Orlando International Airport. That's in Orlando, Florida. Dang, we talking about Florida again. To scan faces of U.S. citizens. It's just becoming more and more common. We just seeing more and more stories about our faces being scanned. Now, it's probably been going on a lot more than the stories that we see. You figure it's like that's the tip of the iceberg. If we see one story or hear about one, it's probably 800 million that are going on that we don't see or hear about. So, the more you hear about it, it's like way more common than you know what I'm trying to say. Sheriff gets into grisly situation with bear. So I saw this story. I saw somebody tweet it and they were like, now, I guess apparently the bear was in the car with the sheriff and the sheriff didn't know what to do and the sheriff let the bear out and all of that stuff. And somebody was like, I'm glad that the bear is safe and everything. But, once again, let's talk about the fact that y'all claim that y'all can't really figure out how to, perhaps we should start wearing masks in airports. Right. Or altering our face, like stuff your cheeks with tissue or whatever, trying to sex up some bears. Is that what they were doing? But anyway, what the person was saying on Twitter, which I thought was a good point, is like, you know how to get a damn bear out of your car without shooting it and killing it, and you can't. A child is running away from you, and you just compelled to shoot and kill a child who's running away from you. Y'all are full of it, and by full of it, I'm not talking about nothing good. So anyway, the Indian women lighting the way for change. Oh, they're like learning, like they're like in off-grid communities, they're learning like solar power type stuff. Happy birthday to choreographer, dancer, and activist Katherine Dunham. Yay! I had ballet and tap when I was like a little bitty girl, but as a teenager, I studied Dunham technique. And it's like one of the things I love about Dunham technique. There's some dance, like I feel like belly dance is another one of those dance. Florida has 100 airports. But Dunham technique is like, there's a way that you stand and carriage and like the, move in your body. They value wild and more, classical. She does, it's like a ballet type thing. So you do plies and releves and stuff like that, but it's also very like hip oriented. And so Dunham technique. And then there's like a whole bunch of Dunham dancers in Detroit. I don't know if they're all over the world, but we love Katherine Dunham. Yes. So happy birthday, Mama Dunham, Mama Katherine. I guess some people may not even know. Them moves are from our Africanity. Yes. Well, oh shoot. Okay. Oh, she was also known as Kay Dunn, June 22, 1910, born in Glen Ellen, Illinois, a village located. She loved Haitian culture too. See? That Haitian thing. 25 miles west of Chicago, had one of the most successful dance careers in American and European theater in the 20th century, and directed her own dance company for many years. She has been called the matriarch and queen mother of Black dance. Born in Illinois, Dunham received her bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. Oh, I love Dunham technique. Yay! In anthropology from the University of Chicago, and later did an extensive anthropological study, particularly in the Caribbean. She began performing in 1931 in Chicago, then worked for the New York Labor Stage. What's the New York Labor Stage? Yes, sister, where she composed dances for the Emperor Jones, Pins and Needles, and Run, Lil Chillin'. In 1936, Dunham received a Julius Rosenwald Foundation fellowship, with which she traveled and studied dance in the West Indies, especially Haiti. By 1940, Catherine had formed a highly acclaimed all-black dance troupe that toured her works in the United States and Europe. She also choreographed and performed in motion pictures and Broadway musicals. No, it was big in New York City. Okay, I didn't know that. When I was in New York, I never ran into, oh, I might have run into one person here or there who did Dunham, but I always felt like, you know how I think everything come from Detroit. Everything good is from Detroit. Dunham opened the Dunham School of Dance in New York City, which trained dancers in classical ballet, African and Caribbean dance forms, anthropology, and other cultural arts. That's interesting to have a dance school that trains people in anthropology. Is that standard? I'm surprised by that. The school was an important center of Black dance. She became the first Black choreographer at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. She acted as technical cultural advisor to the president and minister of cultural affairs in Senegal. Yay, Senegal. In the 1970s, Dunham went to Southern Illinois University as an artist in residence and later became a professor. There, she developed cultural arts programs to teach the disadvantaged urban youth. As a scholar and influential leader in Black theatrical dance, her original technique emphasized the movement of certain body parts isolations, independent of the rest of the body. Dunham also wrote articles for periodicals and didn't know that, and authored several books. Plagued by arthritis and poverty, in the latter part of her life, Dunham made headlines in 1992 when she went on a 47-day hunger strike to protest the U.S. policy that repatriated Haitian refugees. It is embarrassing to be an American, Dunham said at that time. Dunham's New York studio attracted illustrious students like Marlon Brando and James Dean, who came to learn the Dunham technique, which Dunham herself explained is more than just dance or bodily executions. She further elaborated that it was about movement forms, love, hate, death, life, and all human emotions. Oh, that's beautiful. She depended on grants and the kindness of celebrities, artists, and former students to pay for her day-to-day hundreds of Dunham classes in the New York Cities in the 80s. Dang. I got there late 80s. I didn't know. I was busy in school and then I didn't know. Really, the next time that I danced when I got to New York, at first I went and took a couple classes, but then I was doing West African dance with, what's the sister's name? Nafisa. I don't know Nafisa's last name, but Mama Nafisa. And it was a big class. So there were like a lot of professional dancers in there. I wasn't a professional dancer. Okay. So that's Mama Catherine Dunham. Happy birthday. Thank you for your service. What was the Dred Scott case a catalyst for? She looks so tranquil sitting in your lap like that, listening to you and looking around. Was the Dred Scott case a catalyst for the Civil War? You think it was? You know much about the Dred Scott case? The Dred Scott case is the one where they said, you know, the Black man has no rights that we're bound to honor. Is that what the majority decisioner said? No. No, it wasn't. In March 1857, in one of the most controversial events preceding the Civil War, I think in the TV show, Dunham died broke and sick. Yes. They always fought for money. The U.S. Supreme Court. Oh, so I was going to say in Underground, I think that they had their first, like in the beginning of their first episode, I think they were dealing with the Dred Scott case, but I'm not sure. The case had been brought before the court by Dred Scott, a slave who had an enslaved person who had lived with his owner or captor, torturer, monster, capture, torturer in a free state before returning to the slave state of Missouri. Scott argued that his time spent in these locations entitled him to emancipation. The Dred Scott case was okay. He said that it entitled him to emancipation. In the decision, Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, a staunch supporter of slavery, disagreed. Taney announced the slaves were not citizens of the United States and had no rights to sue in federal court, and in fact, blacks couldn't be citizens. Nafisa, I think she still teaches. Yeah, I used to take classes at a big school, or not a big school, but it was a school, and I can't remember what the names of those programs were, but they were designed to bring the community into schools after hours. Like, I actually worked with the agencies that dealt with them, but that's probably how I learned about the class. But it was like a huge class with like 100 people, and it was a really, really good class. I really liked her class. And that was the first time. I had always thought I was a dancer. And that was the first time when I started taking West African dance with her. I had seen people do West African dance, and I had never really tried it because it was like somehow it couldn't compute, and I was just like, well, I'll just watch and clap and do, shake and shimmy on the side. But when I took that class, I was like, the arms are doing one thing, the head is doing something else, everything. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't dance. I always thought I could dance, but I can't dance. But over time, I got better and better, but it was just a shock to my ego. Being the dancing queen that I was. But it was a good class. I liked it. Found muscles you never knew you had. Yep. And it's more complex than anything, It's easy to shake and shimmy. The decision was celebrated in the South and by slavery supporters. It incensed abolitionists and heightened North-South tensions, which would erupt in war just 3 years later. The Dred Scott case was the focal point in the famous debates between Lincoln and Stephen Douglas. I don't know who that is. In 1858, it also made the Republican Party a national force and led to the division of the Democratic Party. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I'm finished with that. Remembering Bishop College, 1881 to 19. Y'all ever heard of Bishop College? I never heard of Bishop College. We're not going to spend a lot of time. We just going, why are we remembering Bishop College? Black then, why? Black then, why? India police sorry for lynching photo. I don't know what that's about. Iberia Dempsey School, 127 West 127th Street. No, it wasn't Dempsey School, but it seemed like it was like 127th. It was like I would take the train to like, no, it seemed like I'd take the train to like 116th, but not like the A or the 2 or the 3, not like the blue or the red line, but I don't know what I was taking. But it seemed like it seemed like it was like 160. It might have been 120th, 23. Beacon programs, that's what they were called, beacon programs, to make the schools beacons of light for the community. So I don't know, that might be the name of the school. For over 100 years, Bishop College provided higher education for Black students in northeastern Texas. Based in Marshall Harrison County, the school was established in 1881 as a project of the Baptist Home Mission Society and Nathan Bishop. So it functioned for over 100 years. Ministers founded the college in a prime location. In 1961, it received a grant from the Haberletzel Foundation that allowed for the school to expand or move if it wished. Later that year, it moved to a new Dallas campus and experienced a boom in enrollment. By 1970, the school welcomed 2,000 students. Bishop College seemed to be enjoying a period of extreme growth with the number of pastors and football players gracing its halls and graduation stage. The momentum ended in 1988 when the school became the center of financial scandal. As a result, it couldn't receive funding from the United Negro College Fund and its accreditation was revoked. 18 years later, Georgetown College was pursuing a significant bump in minority enrollment. Okay, cool. Oh, something about down in Delta. Yeah, I really like West African dance, and I really like belly dance, like like as a dance discipline, not as like people are like, oh, belly dance, but I mean, like, I really liked it as a discipline, as a study, as a Oh my gosh, offering alumni with Bishop College insignia. Okay, so anyway, that college came and it served for 100 years. And some things come and go. 100 years is a long cycle to me, or almost 100 years. That's a long cycle. I don't know what the lynching photo is, so we'll come back to that. Kate Spade's father dies the night before the designer's funeral. They say he died from heartbreak. Heartbreak is a real thing. I believe that. Police in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh have apologized after a photograph of a lynched man being dragged by a crowd in the presence of 3 officers caused an outrage. Wow. So that's it. They apologized. I guess that and they actually had the image in the article, and they had the person's face blocked out who had made their transition. But it's kind of like, I guess, some people are like cruel and inhumane and just cruel and inhumane. And I'm not a fan of sorry here either. I just feel like don't do. I remember that Chief Joseph also died of heartbreak. Africanisms were strong then. Yeah. I just feel like do the right thing to begin with. Don't be apologizing afterwards. And I feel like a lot of times people are apologizing for stuff that they did that they know was wrong. 114th between Adam Clayton Powell. Oh yeah, that's where I was. That's the school I was in. What is that school called? If you say the name, I might recognize it. That's funny. Now that's something I miss. I really miss. It used to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I really missed the first couple classes I went to. I left crying because I'm like, I can't dance. I thought I could dance. So you think you could dance? I mean, I literally did leave crying because I'm like, I can't get it. I'm so bad. I thought I was good, but I'm not good. And then I had to like get it in my head, like, okay, this is something that I want to do and I enjoy doing. And I'm going to do it even if I'm not good, even if I'm not the best, even if I'm a failure, I'm going to do it anyway. And then I kept going back. Activists raped after performing street play. I'm gonna leave that alone, but that's coming out of India as well. What's up, India? Why does India's air look different from space? I think they're talking about pollution in that article. Police officer who fatally shot unarmed teen Antoine Rose identified. So what's his name? Somebody going after him? We need to know his name so we can get him. Police killings are damaging the mental health in Black community, studies find. It was better not doing it and living with regret. It was better than not doing it and living with regret. Heart is real. Most elderly couples die right after spouse transitions. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know, but I think that, our emotions and our bodies are connected, and then I was talking about chakras, and I mean, I think there's like a lot of connections in relationships that we may not fully quite understand, but I think just because we don't understand them doesn't mean they're not real. World Cup 2018, footballers' hair too wild for Iranian TV. Well, I wonder what that meant. I didn't really click the article, but I wonder what kind of hair they had. Were they black? Did they have like, my hair isn't wild now, but sometimes I have wild hair. My heart is breaking too. Well, I think that a lot of us are dealing with issues of heartbreak. And so it's important for us to, acknowledge that, but also to think about ways to heal our hearts, to think about and practice ways to heal our hearts. Yeah, I've always heard that women tend to live longer than men, but, I think that, when you're closely linked to somebody, it's like you're integrated, So I don't know what the too wild hair was. South Sudan peace deal attempt fails as Kiir rejects Machar. Oh, South Sudan. I was going to say, I don't know why I'm looking at this article. So I don't know what the South Sudan peace deal was, but I was just like, oh, South Sudan. What's going on in the South Sudan? Oh, it's coming off the grill, so I might even be able to understand it. Okay, we'll loop back to that. Happy birthday, Octavia E. Butler! Woo! Dang, Octavia Butler and Catherine Dunham were born on today. Wow. African American Grand Dame of science fiction. Two black groups fighting in the Sudan. There's no such thing as too wild hair in soccer. Why they have really wild hair in soccer? So it's Octavia Butler's birthday. I've been every tweet I saw about Octavia Butler today, I've been passing along. Soon I'm going to be starting Wild Seed, which is one of my favorite books that I've read. I like almost all of her books, but it's been a while since I read Wild Seed, so I'm going to be starting that again. I love her parables. I love her work. I love the way she inspired so many people to write. I love the way that when she was a young person, she had a vision of being a writer and she wrote about that vision. And I just love her work. I love her voice. I love the way she explored, domination and submission and enslavement, and like the way she explored different things. There's an African woman who had an Octavia Butler inspired book made into a movie. Yeah, we love Octavia Butler and Catherine Dunham. Soccer hair is wild on a legendary level. Oh, okay. I like wild hair. If not wild, what? If not me, who? If not now, when? I've been saying that. I realized the other day that on my playlist I have a Tracy Chapman song, and it's called If Not Now, Then When. And that's probably why I'm always saying that. I didn't know is it a Martin Luther King quote? I did not know. I was probably just because I heard, listening to that song, I probably just, if not today, then why make your promises? Okay, the latest attempt at ending South Sudan's 5-year civil war failed Friday as President Salva Kiir rejected working again with rival Riek Machar after their first face-to-face meeting in almost 2 years. This is simply because we have had enough of him, the government spokesman Michael McCooey said. Thigh Time by Tracy Chapman is gut-wrenching. Thigh Time, Thi, I don't know that song. Oh, This Time, I think I know that song. I was going to say there is this song that I like Tracy Chapman. I don't have enough of her stuff. I have one of her CDs somewhere. But who listens to CDs anymore? I do have a CD player. So this is interesting. This article is coming out of Ethiopia, but it's about South Sudan. Okay. The rivals met this week in neighboring Ethiopia on its prime minister's invitation, shaking hands and being coaxed into an awkward embrace as they held direct talks. I like that. I like that Ethiopia is trying to get other African, let's all try to help each other. Let's try to mediate. CDs are becoming a thing of the past. I know I had a huge collection. I don't even know where most of it is. Although I think I saw a bag inside that had a bunch of it. So maybe somebody can digitalize it for me. Because I'm realizing I kind of miss my music. I've been, but anyway. They shook hands again as regional heads of state and government met to discuss the civil war in the world's youngest nation. Oh, South Sudan. We thought we were the ish when we had our first CD player. Yep. I remember buying a CD player and it was like a Walkman and it was like anti-skip and it was like 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. So like if you were walking, and you bounced, it would keep going for, it had a little cushion. I was mad when I couldn't buy 45s. And remember putting those little things in the middle of the 45s? Or those little plastic circle things. But it became clear that while South Sudan's government was open to having the opposition in the vice president's role, it would not accept Machar's return to that post. Machar fled the country after new fighting erupted in the capital, Juba, J-U-B-A, Juba. Ooh, I like the way that sounds. In July 2016, ending a brief attempt at peace in which he returned to his role as Kiir's death, adding, "This is completely disappointing." I was a member of Compact Disc World and spent a lot of time in Tower Records. I remember Tower Records. I don't remember the other place, but I remember Tower Records like at 14th. It seemed like it was like at 14th Street or something. And it was like tall, like 4 or 5 stories or something. That's what I remember. The warring sides will meet again Monday in Sudan. That country's official news agency, SUNA, reported. SUNA. Who heard of SUNA? Okay. An official said they will meet in Kenya. Okay. Machar will attend the Khartoum meeting. Is Khartoum in Ethiopia? Khartoum. I think it's in Ethiopia. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just kind of clicked, so we'll keep going. Okay. So yay. We'll make some stuff up, some skit up. Ohio cop fired after stopping detaining. Khartoum is in Sudan. Khartoum is in Sudan. Sudan. Is it Khartoum with an N in Sudan? Khartoum or Khartoum? We'll make some stuff up. Ohio cop fired after stopping detaining daughter's black boyfriend without cause. And Mahdi of Khartoum. Oh, Khartoum. In my head, I always saw N at the end. Migrant family separation poster girl not taken from mom. Oh, so that little girl you see on a lot of the images, they saying it's not taken by mom. 68th Street. I never went to the 68th Street one to buy records. Because I used to live like out by near Soho, but it seemed like when I lived there, it don't seem like I went to Tower Records. I don't know where I was living anyway. Video gamers may soon be paid more than top pro athletes. Video gamers. I heard they were suing the president because of the separation. Who's suing the president because of what separation? Sudan? Is it me? Or was this happening for years? Tower Records went major, bust. Yeah. The illegal immigrants. Oh, they because of the separation. Oh, yeah. Were they illegal or were they like presenting themselves for asylum, or was it like a mix of people? I feel like this language is problematic to me. I have some issues. So video gamers are out here making big bucks. Venezuelan forces killed hundreds, UN. I don't know what's going on in Venezuela, but they said the forces killed hundreds. Here's the salary of every governor in the United States. So they say that I didn't read the article, I just skimmed like the first paragraph or something. It said most governors make more than 100,000, but some make six figures. It's good out here for a governor. So yeah, so that's it. That's what I got. Those are my notes on the news. Crossing and staying without paperwork equals illegal immigrants seeking asylum as a process which these people are not following. I think some of the people are and some aren't. I think it's different categories of people that are all being lumped together and being called criminals. I think that's part of like a propaganda effort, but I'm not really clear. I'm not there, but I'm not a believer in this administration, and like the language they use, I feel like is very suspicious. I just don't believe them and I don't trust them. So I feel like if they say, like Ayapo say, if they say I'm black, I'd be like, well, maybe I'm not black, but not quite. But I'm just saying, I don't. They a mess. Okay, so I pulled a card and it says my happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. My happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. So it's been effective. So what's been effective? That they used the children for sympathy and now they got a whole bunch of money, or now they got to be citizens of the United States. It's effective in terms of what? Okay. So like, share, comment, subscribe, ask Obama, the official deporter in chief. This has been going on for years. Now I did hear that he was like a big deporter of people. It gets them in America. Okay. Okay. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Any good news anybody wants to share? Personal news, accomplishments, celebrations, Earlier today, one of my friends who is half Cherokee said there's no such thing as illegal immigration on stolen land. What are your thoughts? I sort of agree. I think that part of what's a challenge is that we start framing things from the perspective of white colonizers. We start framing things from the perspective of thieves, and like, and so I feel like we have to reframe how we're thinking about things. We think about things like the way we've been trained to and the way we've been propagandized. And I feel like, yeah, how are we talking about illegal immigrants? I mean, not we specifically, but we're like orienting ourselves and identifying ourselves with some bullshit. So I tend to agree with that. I feel like the whole conversation needs to be reframed, and it's really challenging to do, and it's really challenging to stay on task with reframing the conversation. Like keeping in mind that they're Steelers, like I just feel like it's a lot to hold in your mind at the same time. They don't get to tell us nothing. The Cherokees were major slavers. I still feel like it was stolen land. The fact that some Cherokees or all Cherokees were major slavers, does that change the fact that they came over and stole the land from those people? And then try to eradicate them, and are constantly, continuously trying to eradicate them, so there's no one to come back and claim that this is my land, so that they can never try to get themselves together and be like, this is my land. And then they're defining who has a right, like in order to be Indian, to say that you have any claim to this land, in order to say you native, you got to have like 80 million drops of blood to say, because they concerned about them trying to reclaim this land. We were never immigrants. They need to get their story straight. No, well, there are some Black folks who immigrated over here, but yeah, a lot of us were dragged over here in chains. Most of us, the majority of us. My happiness, you happy? If you are happy, it's a direct reflection of your level of faith in the universe. You have faith in the universe? Until I get the whole truth, I feel nothing. Yeah. I hear that. But I can tell you this. I feel like if Zero is like all for something, I'm definitely I'm not saying that, I don't necessarily believe that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, because I feel like the enemy of my enemy could be my enemy too. But I definitely, if Zero say anything, I just like, I'm very suspicious of it. I'm not inclined to like, so if he say they illegal aliens, I'm like, they probably not illegal. Whatever he say, I just feel like it's lies and bullshit and about him acquiring land and more wealth. I think this is a Pizzagate bust, and now media is trying to play on sympathies of the unknowing public. Kids separated from their parents makes no sense. Who wants to have to feed a hostage? Zero represents white America, nothing less. Yeah, I don't really understand what the agenda is, but what I do know is that this country has had a history of separating, people from their parents. Now, maybe that's like propaganda. Maybe they didn't separate the native folks from their parents. Maybe maybe they kept enslaved Africans with, maybe they kept families together. But, one person said that it's not really an issue of this specific group of people. Is like a way that colonizers move in order to demoralize people, and to demoralize people and immobilize people for generations. So when you separate people, from their families, the trauma and the hurt and the pain and the heartbreak of that is something that, like, kind of slows you down and makes it hard for you to respond for a long time. So I don't know, I'm not really clear what the agenda is, but is what America does best. Yeah, and then we just read an article at the top of the news feed saying that the number of children born to white people is less than the number of people who are dying. So I was kind of wondering about, like, are they trying to get the children so that they can adopt them and whiteify them? Because brown people are probably easier to whiteify than black people are, or they can selectively whiteify some and use some for sex slaves or whatever. But and then also when you have people in that prison system, those are enslaved people. So when you have children in the prison system and you bring people into a system system young, theoretically you have the opportunity to indoctrinate them and, manage them. I don't know much. I haven't really followed the whole story closely at all. I'm just looking at headlines and then I see tweets here and there. I haven't, it's been, I haven't been following many stories other than my own personal story, very closely for a minute. But I actually think that, it's interesting to talk about it. They're Pizzagating those kids. I actually think that it's interesting to talk about it. Is she able to keep the baby? I have no idea. I think that it's interesting to talk about it and to like do some analysis of it, and try to understand it like in a sincere way. If there's is there like, what's going on and how does it relate to us? And, like I think that it's black men in prison will tell you the Latino guards and officers treat them worse than any white man. Yeah, probably the black guards too. A lot of times people's like the hatred of black people and the hatred of black people is really, really intense. So, a lot of times, if you've ever seen Uncle Ruckus on the Boondocks, I feel like I think that he's an archetype in our black community, but I also think there are a lot of people in a lot of other communities who really take that to the next level. There are some Mexicans who are of African descent and identify as African descent. So I'm not sure, I don't know if you can talk collectively about a whole group of people, or I don't generally feel comfortable talking collectively about a whole group of people, especially in that way, but I don't know. I mean, I can't dispute it. I can just talk about my experience. I've dealt with a couple Chicano women, and they seemed very progressive to me, and they were, but I don't know what was in their hearts. But I think, I think it's good to have conversations. I know this is not exactly a conversation because I don't really have any information, but I think that conversations and analysis are good. Even when they seem nice, they hate you. The hatred of self causes black men and women to behave worse toward black people. Yeah, some of us are really, in deep distress and, hate our blackness and, express it to other black folks. But we are healing and our consciousness is increasing. Our consciousness of our beauty and our power and our strength and our wonderfulness and how much, we're kind of more and more, moving beyond the veil of the mess and confusion about who we are. So there are more and more people who aren't participating in that and standing up and being like, I'm black and I'm proud, or, I'm African or whatever. That is the plan, to get black men to see black women as the enemy. Yeah. Some people have that plan. I have a different plan. My plan is for black men and black women and black families to be together. What's your plan? We're definitely healing and we're definitely awakening in this new time we're in. It's been successful. We need to keep our eyes wide open, all three of them, no matter who we're dealing with. Yeah, somewhere I was listening to and they were talking about, Joe Madison. He's like, listen with your third ear. I love that. I'm like, dang. Yeah, we need to keep all our eyes and ears wide open, and we need to love each other. We need to consciously love each other. It's very, very important because our love is healing and our, put ourselves first before all others. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Love starts with yourself and it moves outward. If you're not solidly in love with yourself, you can't, there's no, you can't spiral upward. It's got to start with ourselves. It's got to. Yeah. So any good news, anything exciting, anything you're looking forward to? Agreed. Be one. Black first. This is the wind down. Our love is like what the world wants. Just must love first. I'll deal with other groups after I put my people first, because that's just what they do to us. Yeah, I don't do stuff because of what other people do. I let myself guide myself. So I'm not like, oh, well, he did this, so I'm going to do that. I try to like have my own standards and make my own decisions about how I move in the world based on who I am and what my values are and what my beliefs are. So what somebody else is doing is secondary to me. But yeah, I definitely believe in, I got to love myself first, because I believe I got to love myself first, not because of anybody else. I mean, whatever they doing, I don't know. They envy our black energy, so it benefits them to keep us apart. You can't stop love. You can't stop God. You can't stop it, baby. You can't stop it. Uh-oh. Okay. The good news is that the new Superfly movie has apparently been a flop. I was thoroughly rooting against it. We don't need that kind of nonsense. I haven't seen it. I didn't even know it was out at theaters. But I thought I heard. Yeah, I don't know. It's that's the good news. So what's been successful that you're excited about? Superfly met Ray. She heard the song and she got up. Hey, hey, hey. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Who you gonna be if you ain't you? Who we gonna be if we ain't we? Who you gonna be if you ain't? Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. I see us getting closer and closer to the truth. Yes, every moment we are moving closer and closer to the truth. Every moment we're getting better and better. The Google caricature on its homepage today was a great black woman in sci-fi, Octavia E. Butler. Oh, yeah, Kindred is one that a lot of people like. I don't love her Kindred, but I love her Parable of the Talents, Parable of the Sower. And I'm going to be starting within the next couple of weeks her Wild Seed, rereading it, which is another one of my favorites. And that I think that one is a trilogy, but I'm going to start with Wild Seed. I love Octavia Butler. I see myself with your glasses now that we have the same hair. Oh, we got the same haircut. See? B. Fabulous. Hadn't read any of her books. You. Yes. All right. So yeah, you'll have to. I love her Parable of the Talent and Parable of the Sower. I think it's like very of the moment. Love and kisses. I think it's very of the moment. That book. My daughter says you and I look alike. Oh, yay! She, Octavia Butler, was on the Google homepage today. Yes. So they chose Octavia Butler. Well, we are going to choose Catherine Dunham and do what's some Dunham technique? Well, I'll just sit up, stand up in that posture. Do you do book clubs, Angela? I'm in a book club. You look like two of my sisters with your haircut. Yep, I'm in a book club. What we gonna read? We could do a book club here. What we gonna read? Oh, what am I reading? Oh, I'm reading Wild Seed for book club. Online book clubs. I've never done any online book club. Let's read Octavia Butler Wild Seed. Or do you want to read the parable? Let's read Wild Seed since I'm already reading it and won't stress me out. So everybody read Octavia Butler Wild Seed. For those of you, on your channel. Wild Seed. Yeah, let's do it on the channel. Wild Seed Octavia Butler. And maybe we'll do, just go pick up the book. Wild Seed it is. Just go pick up the book. So I think instead of doing like a whole book at a time, we'll do like a chapter at a time. And then that way, it'll make it a little more manageable. So go pick up the book. And I'm going to start it on my birthday, which is July 3rd. So, yeah. Yay, Octavia. I love Octavia Butler, Tananarive Due, Walter Mosley. I love books. I have some favorite authors. Yep. Okay, so that's it. We already sang the song. What we doing still sitting here? Peace. You ain't got to go home. I'm home, but I got to get out of here. I'll start it when you do on July 3rd. I think I'm going to like her too. Yeah, she's really interesting. And I like the way she looks. Like she's just really she has a really strong look and she looks like a serious, powerful woman to me. And there's something very I don't know. I just love the way she looks. Peace, faith, hope, and love to all. Yes, yes, yes. Peace and black love, family. Yep, love yourself. Love yourself and go hug some black person. Pat somebody on the back. Be kind to some black person and start with yourself. Peace.